Career Compass, in partnership with the National University of Singapore.
Thank you for joining me, Susan Ng, with Justine Moss here on Your Money Mind. Well, the first NUS College cohort will begin studies this August. Students at this honours college will graduate with a degree from their home college, faculty or school, and the NUS College certificate. So what makes the program so unique? It's time we find out on Money Mind today, even as we get to know their broad interdisciplinary curriculum.
And joining us now is Professor Simon Chesterman, Dean-designate of the new NUS College. And the NUS College is an honours college and the result of a merger between Yale-NUS College and the University Scholars Programme. Professor Chesterman is also the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the NUS. Professor Chesterman, welcome to CNA938.
Thanks so much for having me.
Lovely to have you with us. Now, NUS College is Singapore's first honours college. I believe honours colleges are new to this part of the region. So, Professor, just share with us what it means to be an undergraduate honours college and what are some of its distinctive features?
Thanks so much. Well, I mean, as you said in the opening, this builds on the experience of the Yale-NUS College and the University Scholars Program. And essentially what we're offering students is a richer, more personalized experience for those high potential students who could take advantage of it. It's really the best of both worlds, we're hoping, drawing on the kind of intimate, residential, small classroom size experience that I think Yale-NUS College did very well, but linking it with all of the pathways available to the students who graduate from the various degrees at NUS. At the same time, of course, the idea of an honours college is more than just studies. I mean, you're hoping to recruit high potential students and enrich their studies, but you also want to give them experiences outside the classroom, opportunities to develop not just their minds, but their hearts, their bodies, and to really have a rich university experience. That's the aim, at least.
Professor, as Dean-designate, you will be the inaugural Dean of the NUS College from July this year, ahead of the first cohort commencing their studies in August. What are your plans for the college and the hopes for the students who will be coming through your doors?
So really we're seeing this as an evolution in thinking about education in Singapore. I think there's a tendency to regard education, in the past at least, as a 3 or 4 year degree at university level which prepares you for a career for life. And I think, as Minister Chandran Singh has made clear recently, as the university has made clear with our commitment to lifelong learning, a university has to be much more than that. And so what we're trying to do at NUS College really is help our students develop the foundations for the way in which they think about their careers, but also to make it clear that a university is not just sort of plug and play for a student who then is set to be a lawyer, a doctor, a banker or something. What they've really got to do is lay these sort of rich foundations, developing skills, of course, knowledge, of course, but also perspectives on the world, values that will set them up for lifelong learning, so that they'll go on to good careers, we hope, but also to be change makers who will go on to take on leadership positions and really have an impact on the world. So that's the hope.
Yeah, and very, very exciting. And I guess there's also very much a diverse range of academic pathways, other things that will be introduced into the curriculum. So, Professor, just enlighten us more on that. What students will study and how would these differ from those currently offered at NUS and other unis here in Singapore?
Yeah, so great question. So in the past, you really had to choose. You could either go down a specific degree path, law, business, arts, and so on, or you could do the broad liberal arts education that was available at Yale-NUS College. Now you can do both. You can get the liberal arts traditional foundation, but also linked in an integrated way with a pathway to more than 50 majors across half a dozen degree programs through all of NUS. It's almost all of the programs. We're still working on medicine and dentistry, a couple of others, but really the value add of the program is, I suppose, firstly, that combination of the liberal arts foundation but linked in with all of the degrees, including the professional degrees. Secondly, we're developing entirely new programs like the Impact Experience and Global Pathways. Impact Experience is a capstone project that will involve students in forming teams to collaborate across disciplines to solve a real-world problem. And that we hope will really develop not just their intellectual skills, but also their capacity to work in teams, to communicate, and so on. And then Global Pathways gives them priority access to the many NUS pathways around the world, both in terms of exchanges and the NUS overseas colleges. So those are some of the distinctive things that NUS College will offer.
Yeah, and I guess a real sort of holistic offering. Is that how you could also describe it?
Exactly right. I mean, that's really the idea of a university education, again, should be more than just preparing you for the career you take on the day after you graduate. What it's really meant to be doing, we think, is equipping you for life. And that's not in the sense that it gives you everything you need for life, but rather gives you the skills, the values that will enable you to adapt to a changing world. Because the reality is many of the careers that our graduates will go on to pursue, say, 10, 20 years from now, they don't exist at the moment. So it's not a matter of training them now for what they can do the day after they graduate, but to give them skills, perspectives, values that will serve them through a lifetime of work and being good citizens wherever they may go.
You know, Professor, I think we'll all agree that one of the highlights of university education is meeting people from all over the world, you know, and spending time together. So we understand that students at the NUS College will actually get to benefit from a really exciting and vibrant residential experience. Talk to us about this and also the thought behind the importance for students at NUS College to actually live on campus.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit humbling for an academic to concede that actually many of the most important experiences on campus happen outside the classroom. But that's certainly true of my own experience. And that's really been one of the many challenges that the pandemic has posed for us over the past couple of years, because even though we could continue classes online and so on, a lot of learning happens on the margins of classes as you're entering and leaving the classroom, interacting with your fellow students, interacting informally with the professors, but it was also those additional experiences that take place outside of the classroom, the student clubs and so on. In my own experience, I mean, I had an opportunity to live in a college environment. I met some of my best friends there. I met my wife there. Not that that's a key performance indicator for NUS College by any stretch, but it's that kind of immersive experience. And I think it's also particularly important in a place like Singapore, where often the high potential students that I've met over the last decade as Dean of the Law School, many of them are keen to leave the country, partly to be a little bit more independent, sometimes to get away from their parents. And so that's something that NUS College, the residential experience, will offer as well, the ability to live as part of a community and to have all those rich experiences that happen outside the classroom.
You're listening to Money Mind here on CNA938 with Susan Ng and Justine Moss and Career Compass. And we're talking with Professor Simon Chesterman. He is Dean-designate of the new NUS College. Professor, I read that the college will leverage on its many global partnerships with the Global Pathways program being one of the flagship programs of the college. Share more with us about this program and how it will benefit your students.
Yeah, so I was just saying that some students might come to NUS College instead of studying abroad, but it doesn't mean you can't study abroad as well. So we're committed to creating lots of opportunities for our students either to pursue studies abroad, and there are a whole range of exchange possibilities, but there's also a really exciting program that's being developed by my colleague Daniel Goh on the Global Pathways program. And so this is not just going to be an exchange experience where you, for example, go to another country and go to their classrooms, but you'll actually go to their boardrooms, you'll go to their museums, you'll go to their stock exchanges. And so rather than just studying technology in Beijing, you'll be meeting technology entrepreneurs in Beijing. Instead of just studying finance, you can go to New York and go to the stock exchange. Instead of just studying visual arts, you'll go to Paris and meet designers and artists. And so NUS has these pathways set up through what we've called the NUS Overseas Colleges, and it really links students in with a network, not just of theory, but of practice, so that the aim is to give students this opportunity really to see themselves in the world, to interact with counterparts around the world, and then come back to Singapore with all of these skills, with all of these experiences, and then take it wherever they want.
Yeah, and pick up sort of, I guess, cultural bits, pick up maybe a bit of the language as well at the same time. Again, adding to that whole holistic package.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is a little bit more common. Obviously, we've slowed down during the pandemic, but I was delighted to welcome exchange students to the law school a couple of weeks ago, and we're sending students off abroad. But the reality is that when you travel, two things happen. Firstly, you hopefully learn about the place you go to. So if you go to New York and the stock exchange, you'll learn about New York and so on. But you also learn a lot about Singapore by being outside your comfort zone, by being nudged, encouraged, pushed really to challenge things that you take for granted. And so that kind of global experience is really beneficial for students. At the same time, we're also bringing the world to Singapore. So there'll be around 1 in 5 of the students in NUS College will be from dozens of countries around the world. We'll have exchange students. So we'll have a very international environment here as well. And that's really intended to help prepare our students to be truly global citizens.
Yeah, a global viewpoint is very important today, isn't it, Professor?
Absolutely. I mean, Singapore is one of the most open countries in the world. Again, that's why we're pushing so hard against the pandemic at the moment. More than half of our GDP is linked to cross-border activities. And the idea that you could be purely focused on Singapore, even if you don't travel, you're going to be interacting with people from around the world. You'll be trading, doing business with people from around the world. And it's important to understand those perspectives. Even if you're not an expert in, for example, Indonesian culture, you at least know what you don't know. And that's one of the other things that we're going to be trying to do with these students is give them opportunities not just to go to high signature places like New York, London, Paris, Beijing and so on, but also enmesh them in the region, help them see the opportunities in ASEAN in particular, which plays a key role in Singapore's economy.
Professor, we understand that degrees will be still conferred by the student's home faculty or school at NUS. What are some of the possible career pathways for graduates who've gone through NUS College experience?
So the pathways could lead everywhere and anywhere. So clearly any student who goes down a degree pathway that has an existing track into a career, like law, medicine, business, and so on, that's pretty easy to see how they could continue, and we're hoping that the NUS College experience will enrich that. But we're also hoping that students will chart their new paths. One of the key things we've been doing across the university in general, and at NUS College in particular, is getting students to see the connections. Because the reality is no one goes to a lawyer, for example, and says, I have a legal problem. They usually have a legal problem. There might be a business dimension to it, a personal aspect, could be a political question. Similarly, in other degree programs, I mean, if you're doing business, you need to understand not just economics, you need to understand people. Increasingly, you need to understand technology, you need to understand science. And so by creating an environment where students are not just studying alongside people from different pathways, but living alongside them, making friends with them, then we're hoping that those students will go on to draw connections, which brings me back to this idea of the careers that haven't been invented yet. So we're fully hoping that many of these students will go on to chart new pathways. Sure, some of them will go on to become doctors, business people, teachers, maybe even journalists if they're lucky, and maybe the occasional academic. But also they'll be helping create new pathways, create new roles for themselves that you or I haven't even thought of yet.
Professor, finally, who's eligible to apply for NUS College, and how can those interested in your college find out a bit more information and apply for a place?
Well, if you Google NUS College or just go to nuscollege.edu.sg, nus.edu.sg, then you'll find the website. But really, it's open to anyone. Anyone who is applying to NUS, we've simplified the admissions process so that if you're applying to almost any of the degree programs at NUS, all you have to do is check a box. And that box will then lead you to write a couple of short pieces. We want to have some rapid-fire responses, a short essay, and a short answer question. This is just for us to have a sense of whether this is something that would interest you, and for you to maybe think about whether this would be of interest. And then the next stage would be we'll call people in for an interview. But right now, my colleagues and I are preparing for open house, where it's not just theory, but practice. We'll show people around the campus, the beautiful U-Town that is nestled at the edge of the NUS Kentridge campus, in addition to a lot of information online about what we hope NUS College will offer them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
Makes
Professor.
me feel like going back to school.
Yeah, and it's just down the road from where we are, actually. Oh, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor, for speaking to us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
We've been speaking on Career Compass with Professor Simon Chesterman, Dean-designate of the new NUS College and Dean of the Faculty of Law at the NUS. And to find out more about the NUS Open House 2022, you can visit their website nus.edu.sg/open house.
Career Compass, in partnership with the National University of Singapore.